What's up, fam? You got your boys here from Birds of a Feather live on a2dradio.com from our own Real Talk studios. I am Chrome, joined by my guy here, Pete Evans, Mr. Kevin Godwin, Mr. Chuck Moranin. Right above us here, we're brought to you by our doctor, Dr. Paul Vidal. You find Paul in Burlington, Cherry Hill, Princeton, New Jersey. It's specialized physical therapy. No appointment necessary. Hit them up, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Also by Ambuck Services, Michael Ambrose. They're the best in the business. Gutter guards, gutter cleaning, tree trimming, deck installation, deck restoration, any kind of work you need on the outside, guys. Summertime. Looks like barbecues are going to be the way to go. Get your house in order. Let them know that we sent you. All right. You get 20% off. Or 25%. I don't even know. 20%. 20% off, Michael Ambrose, at ambuckservices.com. We are shout out to our boys over there at Philly Drinkers. A2D merch is available. You see Pete, me, and Chucks. We all have the same shirt on. I got the gray version. I got like the charcoal gray version.
The heather gray.
And by the way, just saying, boys, these shorts are fire. Hey, the little leg there's for you. Sorry, boys. I'm telling you, get your shorts. They are comfortable as hell. I can live in these shorts. You can find shorts, tumblers, t-shirts, show shirts, A2D merch, an A2D NWO style shirt. Everything is over there. Stickers over at phillydrinkers.com. Shout out to our boy Alex. He does a great job running Philly Drinkers as well as some of his other businesses. So we'll give him a shout out because we love Alex. And obviously our topic of conversation, the original plan, folks, was to, we did the draft series for a little bit, and we transitioned to, top position players since the year 2000 and above. Our plan was originally to do wide receivers this week. We're going to forego that this week because we actually have a lot of NFL news that has come across the wire over the last week. One thing we've put off for a couple of weeks because we had to wait for our boy up here who was trying to duck us last week and talking about Cam Newton to the Patriots.
He was trying to hide. We all know it.
So, we're going to
needed
make
some
sure.
time to let it process.
So listen, we're going to talk about an array of topics. We're going to talk about the NFLPA and the suggestion of cutting preseason games. We're going to talk about Denzel Mims and his comments about Philadelphia. We're going to talk about Cam Newton to the Patriots. We're going to talk about Pat Mahomes and his monstrous baseball-sized contract. Insane. But, we have matters at home that we have to discuss first. And, it has to do with our star wide receiver who made an Instagram post considered anti-Semitic to a lot of people in terms of, quoting Hitler. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how that will affect his status with the team, with the organization, with the city. Because I think that is a hot button topic at a very sensitive time right now to be, putting stuff about a guy who might have been a devil on earth. But we're going to talk about that. And that topic of conversation is brought to you by PlayQB54.com, the best tailgating game out there, QB54. We love it. It's a good time. We're going to be busting it out for our next pool party that we just had a little A2D unofficial, but had a couple of boys over, had a nice pool party. Pete, great steaks, by the way, bro. Shout out to Mama Delavecchia and Granny for the meatballs and sausage. It was a hell of a time. But yeah, that's brought to you, by QB54. And that topic, or the point that we're presenting, is DeSean Jackson. He will be cut. Agree, disagree. That's what we do here on A2D Radio. So we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to defer to Kevin, since you weren't on last week. And by the way, shout out real quick, boys. This is just my shout to you guys, because I know I've been kind of in and out a lot lately. Last week I was finally back. Kevin wasn't here. I have to say, it's nice to have all four of us back on a show together, boys.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, we got the band back together, so I think we're going to have a great show talking about an array of topics. And for you, the fam out there, please drop your comments in our comment section. Don't forget, we're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter. You can catch us if you miss anything. live. Don't worry about it. You can always go back in the archives on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. You can also catch us in podcast form on Google Play, whatever you call it. If you call it iTunes or you call it Apple Podcasts, you can find us on Spreaker, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio. We're all over the place. But I'm going to defer to Kevin. Kevin, as our not Philadelphia fan. I think that I would like to get your opinion just as an outsider in terms of the fandom, of how you feel the situation with DeSean Jackson is going to affect himself, affect the team, and the way the city looks upon him.
Yeah, so first off, definitely great to be back with you boys. Knew I was out last week, but a lot of news to talk about this week. In regards to D-Jax, I don't think he should be suspended. I do think he will be fined. Unfortunately, freedom of speech and whatever you do on your social media only weighs so far anymore when it comes to these athletes and what they can do on their own and representing themselves. With that being said, each team does have a code of conduct. So I think obviously nobody knows unless you're on the team, right, exactly what the rules and part of that code is. But I think part of that is definitely going to be a fine that comes down. I don't think, with everything that has been going on in the world, that it's going to be, enough to levy a suspension, only because of the backlash. Because let's face it, I may disagree, or we all may disagree with what he said, but there's going to be, a group of people that kind of stand up and support him and what he says. If they're going to say that they do or don't, to public, I don't know, but there will be a backlash one way or the other, no matter what the league does. So I think the lesser of the two evils is to have him serve just pay a quick fine, make a public apology, and then stay under the radar.
Pete.
No, I don't think he should be suspended or cut. In this day and age of public perception, I think the damage has pretty much already been done. They may fine and they may hit him in a while. I really don't know what point that would prove. At this point, I think the fire is already there. I mean, I get what he was trying to do. He was trying to get the black community to uplift and recognize who they truly were in the eyes of religion, being the children of Israel. But you don't do that by stepping on the back of Jews. You know what I mean? You don't try to uplift one by stepping on another. I mean, and we talked about it kind of before we came on. The two words that stand out is Hitler said, and then the comma. So it's just very poor taste, poor lack of awareness, poor sense of empathy, just this lack of recognition of, in that moment, you putting that out there, even if you just would have used it as your own words, it would have carried a much different tone. But knowing that we have the Jewish community that supports this team, especially like where I'm at, not so much, but as you get closer to Cherry Hill, Blackwood, that area, definitely a lot of Jewish there, a lot of Jewish community people there as well. So I mean, and they support this team. Pretty sure I wouldn't be surprised if you see a Jewish Eagles fan burning at DeSean Jackson's jersey. You know what I mean? Do I think that he made a mistake? Obviously, he made a mistake. He made a big mistake. Do I think that should come to cost him his job? Nah, because there's people out there that then cost people their lives that still are employed. You know what I mean? We know what we're talking about. You know what I mean? So let's just all use this in scale. It's a dumbass thing he did. But let's all put it in scale. I don't think that should judge his whole content of his character. I just think it's a speed bump. It's a flaw. He's trying to rectify it. The video, not so much. We all just read the little Instagram post that he put out there. He's already been in contact. It's almost like salvage control. It's damage control. How can I salvage my reputation? How can I salvage my image? How can I still get this message across and clean it up to where I'm trying to, like he said, he's trying to uplift, but did it in a terrible, terrible way. That's just my take on it.
Chucks.
So, I thought about this like since last night. and the ramifications of it. And I disagree to the poll. I don't think he should be suspended. I think that's going a little bit too far. To those that are saying he should be cut, that's ridiculous to me, because I don't think that DeSean is a racist person or prejudiced person, or by any
I don't
means.
think so at all.
Yeah, I think he made an egregious, ignorant, on a lack of self awareness mistake that he should be punished for that in some way. I'm not saying like the punishment needs to be severe. I'm just saying there has to be some type of punishment. And when it comes to his apology, especially with the one that he just put out on Instagram, like I accept it. I mean, I've been consistent when it comes to player apologies, and Chrome, you can attest to this because you've known me the longest. But whenever a player does something wrong and they come out with an apology that seems heartfelt, I'm always up for giving players second chances and forgiving them. The important thing is that they are genuine about it and they actually learn from it and they do something to earn that forgiveness. You get what I'm saying? It's not just like we can't just hear the words and then that's it and let it all ride out. Like I accept it, but I hope and I pray, and it sure seems like there will be steps in the right direction to make sure he learns from the mistake and doesn't do it again. And that's what's important. And I think to me that's as long as that happens, it's everything. It's going to be okay. But at the same time, you can't. There are other people that I've seen that are just like, oh, let bygones be bygones. To those who are without sin, cast the first stone. That famous quote from Jesus in the Bible, and the fact that they bring up the Riley Cooper thing, like Riley Cooper was barely punished, so why should Djax? Like to me, in my opinion, for one, Riley Cooper not getting punished was a travesty. Like that should have been more severe. So two wrongs, just because you didn't punish Riley, doesn't mean you can't punish Djax. To me, two wrongs don't make a right. Like I've never been one to believe in the eye for an eye or that or precedent determines what should be right or wrong. So I think regardless of what Riley Cooper did, you have to just punish him based on what the matter is at hand with Djax. And I think that maybe, like Kevin said, I agree. Maybe a fine. Pete did make a great point. Like, what is that going to do? And I get it, but maybe a fine is still like something that'll show that they're still willing to hand down some sort of punishment, and then make sure he goes through the right counseling. So, that's my stance. Everyone deserves a second chance, but you've got to earn it. And I do believe Djax is going to do what he can to earn that forgiveness and get back into the good graces of everybody.
Real quick, before you go, Chrome, the thing I want people who bring up the Riley Cooper thing, Riley Cooper did not, that was all hurt.
Mm-hmm.
The intent was to hurt and defame and be derogatory and to put down. Sean Jackson's, what he was trying to do was not that. The consequence of what he did hurt, but that wasn't the intention behind it. I mean, if you want to, outside of monetarily fine him, don't just sit there and just say, hey, country. We do that a lot. We do it. We seen it with police officers who've been on investigation. They get suspended without pay, then they get their job back. We always think that the money is the thing that is going to get the ultimate transformation or to get someone to learn. And that's not always the case. We've seen that hasn't worked. So why should it shouldn't work now? I mean, if they do it, they do it. But I think it will be far more important to sit there and make him do some type of community service, to do some type of reclamation or reformation in that community, to see what it's like, to see how you can offend, to see what they went through. The plight of blacks and the plight of Jews, there's a lot of parallels. You know what I mean? We can look at the whole situation with Hitler and World War II and why it started, and we see those concentration camps. And see what we deal with black people on an everyday basis. Not one is more important than the other. It shares a lot of similarities, and neither of it. I wish none of it existed. But I just want to make that point very, very clear. Like when people say Riley Cooper, nothing happened to him. Let's just make sure that we understand that Riley Cooper wasn't trying to uplift anybody at that concert when he said those words.
Absolutely.
At all. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, so I'm going to defer to two comments here before I give my point. First one was by Steven Scales. If you can bring that one up, Ryan. He says, I don't think D-Jax was trying to hurt anyone. I think he should take a lesson from LeBron James. If I'm not educated on a certain topic, I'm not going to speak about it until I can get educated on the topic. And then right before, Raymond Rivera said, I just think he needs more education on the Jewish history. I agree with those two comments. I disagree with the poll. I don't think that he should be cut. I'm just going to kind of work my way around here. You know, to what Chuck said, we know that a fine is not really going to mean much. But, again, it does send a message that that there has to be some kind of a repercussion. Honestly, I'd be okay if they did a fine. And maybe, you know, I'm with you, Pete. We talked about it beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
The statement was much better than the video. Much more encouraging and I think easier to understand in terms of that he's had a little self-reflection, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's all damage control, but it seemed a little less damage control and more proactive of this is what I'm going to do. So that I appreciate that there is already a process in place to try to educate. And honestly, for all of us with everything going on in the world, we all could learn a lesson in terms of if I make a mistake, how can I be better and rectify from it the situation right away. But that being said, I don't think they should cut him. Will there be a fine? May or may not be. I'm with Chuck's. I've always been a actions speak louder than words type of person, right? And I don't think DeSean is a racist by any means, or a, you know, anti-Semitic type of person whatsoever. You know, I just think
Right.
it was as Chuck's put it perfectly. I think, you know, a lot of people think ignorance is being rude, and I hate that people misuse the word ignorance all the time, because ignorance is speaking without knowing any better. Not being educated on something. That's truly what ignorance is. You know, if somebody doesn't say excuse me and you say, oh, they're ignorant, that's not what ignorant means.
Right.
It means that you are you're speaking or being, you know, giving an opinion on something that you haven't taken the time to educate yourself on, and you don't know any better. I mean, for better or for worse. And I think that that's purely what this was. It was ignorance. I don't think it helps him that, you know, people's perception of him, whether it's right or wrong, is he's a lightning rod. Sometimes, and I'm not saying it's anything to this scale, but he has put controversial things on social media in terms of isolating himself or coming off in a selfish manner. Not saying like, you know, current event topics that he takes like a certain stance on, but he's a flashy guy. And I think, you know, we all know that can rub people the wrong way at times. So I don't think that that's doing him any favors when people have the initial reaction. So I think for me, I would like to see DeSean follow through on his words. And maybe, you know what, maybe part of the punishment is he has to go and get, you know, whatever kind of sensitivity training or education and have it come out of his own pocket. Don't let the organization pay for it. Let him pay for that himself and get himself in the right frame of mind. I mean, it's a small thing, but again, it's a message to be sent, you know? I just think it's sad. You know, I think too, this is a clear example of, you know, I feel like overall most people have the right intentions when trying to speak, whether you're on one side or the other in
Right.
any of these sorts of topics. But because there's so much emotion driven and media. Like, we're real talk here. We're media, but like, honestly, we have real conversations here. We don't sit here and we don't drive the hate for anything. We try to have a constructive conversation, but there's so much hate on both sides that that are highlighted, that I feel like this is a classic example of somebody who is emotionally driven normally, who meant to make a point without considering the repercussions or the collateral damage of those people. And again, like, how many times have we seen people say things where I think they don't say it the right way and it doesn't come out the right way? And I just think it's a really sad state, honestly, guys, where we're at, that this is what it is, that, people are pulling quotes from Hitler to make a point about one thing, totally ignoring the history of where that came from. And I'm not saying that in a negative way towards him. I just don't think he was educated on it.
And real quick, Chrome, that's a perfect lead into, when's the last time we heard about concentration camps? When was the last time that was in the forelight of the media?
Yep.
We're talking, I'm not taking anything away from it, but you're talking about a football player in the now, right now, who is of African descent, who is a minority, playing in the league, who blackballed a guy who warned us about this 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see it blow up. You see shit hit the fan, and all he's thinking is like, okay, I got to uplift my people. This is uplifting my people. Not even thinking about, and that's where the ignorance comes in, like you said.
Like, who you stepping on to do it?
Right, and that's just the miseducation and totally not even batting the eye to it, because guess what? The media doesn't even talk about it anymore. The only time we hear about anti-Jew is when somebody says something about Jewish people. That's it. That's the only time you hear it.
Yep.
Go ahead, Kevin.
And we do have to remember, we do got to remember that, these are football players, these are athletes. And the reason why I make that clear is because these aren't people that have gone to study things like history or your public speaking courses, or know how to necessarily hold themselves accountable for certain things. Now, does that make it okay? Absolutely not. But I'm saying, we got to remember that probably at a very young age, 16, 17, 18, that these guys that are in the league now know the path they're going to take. So they may not pay attention to things like this, or, worry about how they say certain things. So I think that there was a point to be made, in what he presented, but just didn't know how to put, the words together, and definitely went about it the wrong way. And then, like you said, in the same sense, somebody said it earlier, it's not something that he has done often. Has he been outspoken as far as trying to uplift his community? Yes. And to date, has he done it properly? That I've seen, yes. So I don't think this is something that he is trying to be hurtful in any way. I think he just got his point across just the wrong way. There's no, it's not like a situation. I'm forgetting the linebacker's name that was in Incognito. It's not somebody that has a history past of time and time again of going outside of the lines of what the of what things should be said or how things should be conducted. It's not somebody that keeps pushing things like that, and it's not somebody that's been caught up in the law all too much outside of minor issues, and not in a long time, to where that this to me is a worry. To me, this is just something that was said out of turn, couldn't get across the proper way, and now he has this backlash, and people kind of have to have that forgiveness, right? Am I saying forget that he said it? No, absolutely not. But forgive on a mistake that was made or said.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys a question, and maybe I'm out of left field by even bringing this up, but in a deeper issue, not in terms of the magnitude of the racism that the discussion that's going on in the country. I want almost shift to another issue that it makes me think of. And, you know, there are a number of professional athletes who go to school and get their degrees and do this and that. There's a lot of people, and how many years have we talked about how the education is so put in the back burner, and it's all about the performance on the field. How many times have we heard stories about, you know, little favors to, hey, let's bump that C to a B, or that, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and it also makes me think, could this or situations like this, maybe not specifically with DeSean, be backlash or collateral damage of how the student athletes are properly held accountable for their education in terms of learning about these situations in their history classes and making sure that they have an understanding to become more well-rounded, you know, human beings when they get out, so they can go into their community and have a knowledge of, you know, everything that's going on and how they can be better for, you know, their own people in terms of, you know, race and in terms of the people in their community. Because there's a lot of issues that do unite us, that we may be a different skin color or a gender or, you know, a different sexual preference. However, you know, poverty and certain things like that fall in communities. So do you guys think that this could also be another issue, or an issue that should be brought up, that the education of our student athletes maybe should be called into questions so they would have an understanding of a situation of, you know, everything that happened with World War II and Hitler and everything else like that? Do you guys think that that's a fair concern to have, to add on top of this?
I mean, I do personally, but for many reasons, not just inside of the history part in this situation. I mean, you look at it, there's such a big span. You've got guys in the league that were at D2 schools. You got guys in the league that were drafted out of Canadian football that might not even have played college ball anywhere. Or we've got rugby players in the league, and then you have Ryan Fitzmagic over here who went to Harvard. So there's such a big discrepancy on where these players go. And my biggest concern, not only on how they hold themselves within the league, but look at outside of the league, what happens most of the time. These guys go bankrupt because they never took an economics course. They never took a finances course. You get these guys that hire family members as agents and managers, and they steal from them because they don't know how to do the accounting,
Trent
so they hand
Richardson.
it off to somebody they think they should trust. Then you've got guys that on the opposite end of things. We got Todd Hermans and Riley Cote partnering up on a scientific field in body check wellness and leading businesses. So there's such a discrepancy that I think that not only the league itself falls short on helping these guys continue education, but colleges tend to overlook just because of the name and value that a prestige player might bring to their respective schools.
I think, like,
Go ahead, Chuck.
sorry, I mean, not to go off on a tangent, but I think it's valid what you said, your question, Chrome, about better education for athletes and making them accountable in a way to the point where you want to stop giving them a pass. But I think also
that's the thing, Chucks. I'm not even indicting the athlete on that.
Oh,
I'm indicting the education system for allowing these things to happen and not putting these guys in a better position coming out, and whether it's after 1 year or 4 years, to be a more well-rounded, I don't want to say more well-rounded because that sounds bad, but a more in-tuned person with the things that are presented to them, that they're taught, to make them,
absolutely,
to make sure we're not repeating mistakes.
Absolutely.
We're not, because that's the problem we have now, guys. We're repeating history.
That's my point, is that I take it a step further, and I've said for a long, long time, just the overall education system in this country is bad. To me, like,
No, go ahead and say it, Chucks. The education system in this country is fucked. That's what it is.
It's bad. It's
And
it's
even worse now
so
with the
bad.
way it is because of the pandemic, and they still can't get their shit together to at least go into next year with a better game plan. That's the thing. I'll give you to this year, the end of this year. But man, if you hear some of the shit they got in place for next year, Jesus Christ, these kids aren't going to learn anything for 2 years.
They're not going to learn. Not even like. Absolutely, you guys are correct. And what I've said for a long time is compare the way our education is structured for kids growing up to all the way to adults in college. It's not beneficial to every single type of person. It's not you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole when it comes to a lot of the things that students are trying to learn. Like just because one person is good at, for example, standardized testing and is book smart and can do so well at math, that doesn't mean that this next person from a different background and different circumstance can learn the same way. But it doesn't mean that one is absolutely smarter or more brilliant and has any less right to be to a road to a successful life than the other person. I always look at, I think it's Finland and I think it's either Japan or China. I forget, but they're like 1 and 2 in education in the globe. And go look up why. Go Google it. It's so easy to find and learn about how their education system is structured. And again, not to go on a tangent, but I feel like if the education system as a whole was just different in this country, where you are tailoring to, you have teachers who are better fit, that are it's a high prestige job, whereas in this country a teacher can barely make way. Like when you have that type of notoriety with that position, you can get better education, for example, to an individual in the inner cities or an individual that is not as privileged. And that's a stepping stone. And there are a lot of other things that they do in Finland that are phenomenal. And I think it just goes a long way to show that education as a whole in this country needs improvement. And it goes, and a prime example of that is what you talked about with the student athletes. So I absolutely agree with that.
Chrome,
Chuck's I just want to add this, Pete, because you'll probably react to this. I think a major problem too, and like I guess we're kind of getting off base, but I don't mind because I think it's an important conversation to have because it all does factor in. A big part of that too, Chucks, I don't know what they pay their teachers in those countries, but fucking teachers in the United States don't get paid shit. And I mean, you have those special teachers that will do above and beyond, regardless of what they make as a pay rate. And let's not forget, they only work for like 9 months out of the year, 10 months out of the year. But aside from that, like I can't, unless you have a teacher who just absolutely doesn't give a shit, like it's hard for me to fault teachers who feel slighted in a huge way. And particularly, like we're talking about, educate these athletes, these high school athletes who are going to be prodigies, right? And, the LeBron James and Tracy McGrady's of the world who were able to come out of high school and make tons of money. And these people are the people that are preparing them for that stuff. And they make like 30 grand a year or maybe 40 grand a year, whatever it is, depending on tenure and stuff. And it is very hard in today's society to live on a teacher's salary. Most of them, not just for the summer months, have second jobs. It is very, very difficult. And I think that that's a huge flaw in this system, because if you did better compensate these teachers to give, for lack of a better term, give more of a shit and really, really grind and hold people accountable, I think you would have better results. And that's a huge problem in this country, that these teachers get slighted.
Yeah. To piggyback off what you said, and Chucks, I'm going off on the tangent, dog. because it pisses me off. I have too many friends that's teachers. It's two things out of this whole pandemic, and I'm gonna be honest with you. My mom is sitting right to my right, and some cuss words may come out, so I'm sorry, Mom. But listen,
hi, Mom.
it doesn't make any sense that, for one, we put athletes on this pedestal to where what they say we hang on every single word, and we hold them to a higher standard than we hold some of the politicians in these offices that run our day-to-day life. That's one. Two, for student athletes, when they come there and they get signed, they make money. They don't see an education. Those college administrators, those ADs don't see administration. They don't see education for them. They see dollar signs. Yep. Three, the two jobs in this country, and all healthcare jobs, need to go up in pay for this pandemic. Teachers, parents were running around like chickens with their heads cut off because they didn't even know their own fucking kids because they had to stay home now. Teachers are parents 9 months out of the year for those kids in school, and they're trying, but like you said, many of you said, the system that they're trying to work in to teach these students and mold their young minds is such a flawed and antiquated system that you can't do nothing but be submissive to it. You don't have any creativity. How many times we just heard you talk about? We can talk about Andre Iguodala, Seth Curry. We talked about Todd Herman, Riley Cote. All these athletes who want to take that next step to further educate themselves, they weren't pushed there automatically. And that's the difference between Japan and Finland. As a society, they push their kids to achieve greatness. We don't do that here.
We don't.
We don't uplift every child from the kindergarten level to achieve greatness, to reach every level. And then when you're a teacher and you see that, and these teachers fight, but they can only fight so much to where some of the times now, maybe the fight is out of some of these teachers. By the time they get to that 20 years, that 25 years, they really don't give a shit anymore.
Is it worth it? You're right. Absolutely.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you take these good-natured people, these young minds who wanted to come out of high school and go into college, and they say, you know what? I want to enrich others. I want to enrich the youth. I want to teach those younger than me the way. And history, I'll be honest with you, you can't, everybody learns different. But history in this country needs to be taught in a different way, and we need to put more emphasis on it, because if we did that shit, maybe DeSean wouldn't have said what he said.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? Too many times by the wayside are we putting things that really matter, and then now we have shit that hits the storm, whatever you want to say. In any fashion, in any form of media, athletes, actors, everybody said, because they're just miseducated. And like Chrome, you did such a good job of bringing that up, because this could have been prevented years ago. Years ago. You see what I'm saying? And what can we do to stop the trend here? I mean, I know this is a sports platform, but this is going beyond sports, because sports is a part of it. Because in college, like I said, these kids come from Bumble, Alabama somewhere, country boy on the farm, can barely read or write. Somehow the kid makes it through school and gets a college degree. When you got a kid in inner city Philly who doesn't have the same type of athletic attributes, but he has to bust his ass, go to JUCO, do this and do this, it doesn't make sense. The opportunity should be there for all.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much money in this country, but guess what? The people who actually control all the money is so few percentage-wise compared to the rest of us.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
The education system is so flawed. It's broken. Maybe a breakthrough will come, but man, listen, everybody don't want to talk about that. Nobody wants to hear that voice in the room. If that voice isn't the loudest voice controlling the money, being the lobbyist. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
All right, I'm done.
No, I'm glad.
Yeah,
I'm glad you said all that, Pete, because I said, it's something I've been talking about for God knows how long, and it's a shame, like, because you have these issues that come up all the time, and you have, like, what is the motivation for some of these kids in the inner cities that are lesser off to go out? Like, there's no one that's paying enough attention to them. And then what's stopping someone from just using the sports as a getaway, but then not following through if that doesn't work out? because if one injury, an athlete is done. One serious injury, an athlete is done. But if they don't have that education to back them up, and they don't have a support system in the education system by our teachers to help them, what are they left with? They're not left with anything. They're not. And there's no way to grow and really learn. And even just outside of athletes, it's like personally for me, Chrome, I don't remember, I was one of the top students in our high school, education wise. Education came easy to me in high school. College was a totally different story. And I knew a lot of people like that, where the transition from high school to college wasn't easy. College was not easy for me, but I was different. And there are a lot of people that are different. And when you're constantly trying to shove something down a student's throat that doesn't work for them, when they're taught, you're taught out of high school, you got to go to college, university, 4-year degree, this bachelor's,
that's all I hear.
It doesn't work. You know how long it took me to figure out what I want to do? It took me a long time, and a lot of money. So the fact that it's set up that way for people who, and I give so much props to the people that are successful in that, in this system, and respect to them, the people that work hard and learn and study and do all the work they need to do, because God knows I couldn't do it, but that's great for them. But there are so many people, athletes, non-athletes, that need help that outside of this education system, because the mind doesn't work that way for every single person. It doesn't fit that way for every single person. And it goes beyond just book smarts. What are some life skills that these people are learning? None.
World skills.
What life skills are they learning? They're not learning life skills. They're learning what's taught in a book. And even though that's great, you have to apply what you learn in a book to life. Because you can't tell me that a lot of problems we have right now that's going on in the world can't be helped if you don't teach these kids at a young age how to have better life skills and social skills, and educate them the right way, not trigonometry at age 14. That's not going to teach you something that is applied in real life.
Listen, I mean, hold on a minute. Give me a sec. God, if you were finishing, Chucks.
No, that was it.
So I'll add to that. Let me add to that real quick, right? Because absolutely spot on. And that's why I wanted to bring up the education topic, because it does tie into this in such a major way, right? And it ties into the athletes, and it ties into us being more educated, being able to have a conversation about this stuff, right? And then you're talking about those kids, man, in high school, and if they get to go to a Division I school, and then some of them, when they come out of there, you're talking injuries, Chucks. It ain't even injuries. You get drafted, you're like the elite in the country. And guess what? When you're the elite going against the elite, sometimes you just don't cut it. It's not a slight on everything that you've done to get there, but having other options, which is why I don't like that. I don't like the idea of coming right out of high school. I think you should have to do a year of college, because I think that there's so much growth that can happen in 1 or 2 years of college for them. They're young kids, to learn life lessons, to learn some responsibility and accountability. But I look at all that, and we talk about how many of these school districts cut the arts. And that's other stuff that you're talking about, right? We're learning social skills and expanding our imaginations and opening up our minds to see what else is out there in the world. And I think a lot of that stuff too ends up teaching more tolerance, because there was always certain stigmas against certain things that you did. When I was a kid, and if you were in the choir and you were a guy, you were looked at and made fun of for it, right? That was a thing. But guess what? I mean, I know quite a few of those people went on to do some pretty successful things, and forgetting all the the bigot comments and all that different stuff that people, the ignorant comments that people would make. So we're cutting the arts and the funding for these athletes or any of these kids to learn those social skills, to see other outlets, to create more opportunities, to expand their imaginations. And we're giving them tunnel vision. Hey, man, just focus on what you're doing on the football field. Oh, you need to get a C for this. so you can get on the field on Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is, cool. We'll take care of that for you. Like, look at the fucking movie Blue Chips. I watch that movie all the time. And how is that stuff still an issue? It is still an issue. We've seen movie after movie that highlights it and shows the underbelly and the dark side of college athletics and what these teams will do to get an elite athlete in their program. And changing grades, paying them under the table, or, you know, backdoor deals and this and that. And then it still goes on, and it creates these situations. It's insane to me. I got to get rid of this dog. It's Cody.
Yeah,
It's Cody.
I think it's even an even bigger issue than that as far as the structure in which our school is performed in, right? If you go back 50 years, towns were smaller, population was a lot lower. It was easier to fit smaller groups of kids in classes. It was families were smaller as far as responsibility and size in general go, so it was easier to control what kids are doing. Nowadays, let's look at real world situation. You could have a family where mom and dad are home. They say, hey, let me see your schoolwork before you go out and play. Okay, hey, before you go out to football practice, let me see your schoolwork. It better be done, or else you're not playing football. You take that same person, move a block away, parents might have passed from something unfortunate like COVID or a car accident or a cancer, or the different things that go on in the world, and that same student now has to, they has a God gifted, talents on the football field, but 8 o'clock in the morning, they're at a local diner bussing tables to support their family. And then they, go to school the last period of the day, and then they go play football. They didn't learn anything. They, and at a young age, that if that person's 16 years old doing that, because that's how, if they're working, those teachers looking the other way anyway. That's an outcast. They're not going to pay attention, whatever. If they go on to play football, that's one thing. If they fail, hey, who cares? They were meant to be a failure. They weren't here. They don't look at behind the scenes. You could take that same person moving one more block in the wrong direction, and parents are both alive but just not there. They're not in their lives. That person is running with the wrong crowd, and a teacher gets a hold of them who's making pennies on the dollar for what they're supposed to be doing. It does the right thing and says, look, here's Mr. Smith. He's the football coach. You're either going to go to football, or I'm going to turn you over to the police for what you're doing, and you'll be tried for something. That student's going and he's playing football, but he knows that that's his only way out. So he's playing football, from 1 o'clock in the afternoon in the weight room all the way till it's dark at 8 o'clock before he walks home and and gets in trouble. There's no school time there. It's I have to play football to stay off the streets. And those three kids can all be in the same town. I don't understand right now how we have the school system that's supposed to fit all walks of life down to one structured thing. And I get that you can't have unless you're homeschooling everybody or making individual plans. I get that you can't encompass everything for everybody, but it's got to be better than what we're doing now. And what you're seeing it definitely through the middle school and high school ages. It translates right into college. You get kids. We could have tremendous athletes that aren't even trying for college because they're wrapped up in everything else. And never even get to the to see their potential. Then we get athletes that are passed by and just given those grades like we mentioned because they got there by the skin of their teeth because of those God gifted talents. The person that stands out the most to me is Randy Moss. He was supposed to go to a huge school and got caught up in some things just because he didn't know any better. Still turned out to be a legend, but he actually should have been gone to jail and tried it as an adult for things that he's done in his past, but was given breaks because of his talent. And then you have the upper echelon of the not upper echelon, wrong way to put it, but the other scale of things, like I mentioned. You got guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is a Harvard grad with a doctorate. So there's got to be something to minimize the gap between these players.
to close that gap. I mean, real quick before
Yeah.
we move on and talk more sports related things, we all saw the Ben Simmons documentary. Plain out and said, I don't want to go to college. I want to go play basketball, like out of high school. Like that's what I want to do. I want to go make money. That's my profession. College is never a destination for me. You can get away with that at basketball, but at some point, somewhere, there has to be not book, because I know people who's book smart, dumb as shit in the real world.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Real world life skills, how you can interact in a social setting, know what's right to say, what's not right to say, and apply that to everyday life.
Yep.
That's what the focus. I employ all of you to go watch Jeff Daniels' clip from HBO show called The Newsroom. You Google it, you'll find it. I know it's probably 5 or 6 years old. He goes on a rant about this country and how flawed it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, right now, in this day, July the 7th, 2020, everything in this country can be a slate can be wiped clean almost, and everything has the opportunity to be built better. Sports talk, that's what we're doing right now. Antique Dial is out of here. We're trying to make it better. We're trying to make sports talk media in this area globally, nationally, whatever rocket we get attached to, however high it takes us, that's what we're trying to do. So everyone else out there, whatever, all the people in the chat, all the fam, whatever you do for a living, whatever your passion is, now is the time to really capitalize on that, capture that moment, and try to make it better. Whatever you're passionate about, try to make it better, because I don't know if we're going to, because once everything goes back to status quo, once everything goes back to how we're seeing these beaches and everybody's back to their everyday normal life, whatever that is, all this shit's going to go by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to get back into their routine, hustle and bustle. Days are just going to keep going, keep going. And we're just going to forget all about it.
Agreed. Guys, that was a great conversation. It was one that we needed to have. So I appreciate you guys and your candidness. And I think that, our fam here appreciates all the points in the conversation that we had. So let's move on to our next topic. Kevin, hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
We want to say congratulations to you, pal. You got your quarterback, buddy. So,
Yeah, this is
so
something that I knew.
wait. First of all, I want to make sure that we're getting a real opinion here, Kevin. I don't want the flip-flop shit that we get. I don't want another Antonio Brown say one thing one day and 2 days later you're saying a whole different thing and saying you were saying the same thing. And Kevin deducted us last week. We ain't letting you off the hook this week. You got a brighter spotlight than that red shit that you got on your face right now, buddy. Let's see what you got. Let's hear your opinion.
He went on a secret vacation, bitch.
He did. Cam Newton signs a 1-year deal with the New England Patriots. He's going to be your quarterback. We're going to let you kick off this conversation, Kevin. How do you feel?
So first and foremost, I know that Chuck's will jump out of his chair if I don't put this asterisk on what I'm about to say.
We're already putting asterisks on things.
It's not an asterisk, more of a D note. It's Cliff Notes.
It's cool.
Here we go.
I think we need Ryan Brodo over here too, because Ryan can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Look
what we have here.
So,
that
for
picture
those
in the
who
middle is
haven't,
actually Ryan last week looking for you.
Yeah,
I see you now. You can't hide from me anymore.
So, as I've been very open about, is if I was to draft a football team, as we did, and then if I was to be a GM and head coach, I would not personally pick a West Coast / mobile / running quarterback. But with that being said, I do respect them. As far as I see the ability in a Lamar, I see the ability in a Wilson or a or Mahomes, and I get where teams can go with them. It's just not my particular style and how I would want my team run. Very much your Favres and Brady's and Montana's. That's my type of quarterback. Now, with the Patriots signing Cam, I do love the signing for one reason, and that is, well, for two reasons. The money that we got him for, and for the depth that it adds to the position. We haven't seen.
Wait, did you actually use the word love?
Wow.
You just you sure you want to use the word love?
I do, because look, there's
sure
no way
that
you
the
can go
word
wrong.
love is not going to completely expose you as a fraud?
I am 100% sure. Can I
You are
continue
a fraud.
I am not a fraud.
You are
I
a
said
fraud.
that.
Please continue, fraud.
So, if I was to make a team, he would not be the quarterback I would pick to lead my personal team. But as far as talent, it's there, especially for the money that we got him at. I mean, a former MVP. I know he's coming off of an injury,
Can we
who
go back
hasn't.
and find clips of this? Did we have this conversation
I'm
before?
already there, Chrome. I'm already there. Give me 5 minutes. I'm there.
There has to be clips of this exact
What do you mean?
conversation where we heard
we
the
already
complete
know the
opposite
talent
thing like
is
2 months
there.
ago.
Oh no, it wasn't 2 months
Not
ago.
even 2 months
3 weeks
ago. When the move
3
happened.
weeks ago.
When the move happened. In the chat, when the move happened, he was like, I don't like it.
Pete,
No, I
was
said I said I had mixed
I don't like it.
emotions.
No, you
I
didn't.
said
No,
I had
right
mixed
away.
emotions.
Pete,
But hold up.
The more I look at the
How
money,
you say he has the talent? He won an MVP. Of course he has the damn talent.
No,
right? But
no.
when? What
That's
have you
where
done for me lately?
That's where you expose yourself as a fraud.
He's been hurt
because
since.
if you have mixed emotions, you're not using the word love, Kevin. All
I
of
said
a
I
sudden now
had
we
mixed
love
Well, when you watch
this move.
Well, when you watch a guy go out and get paid $450 million for something that you
Stop
can
it.
very well
Stop it.
reproduce in your system,
Oh,
and you're only paying him
Oh
$1 million.
my
in a
God.
Are you
I'm
kidding
going.
me? Are you kidding me right now?
Guys,
I'm
it's
not.
Kevin. It's Kevin.
I'm done.
It's Kevin.
We
Kevin,
knew.
Kevin,
This is what I missed.
It's Kevin.
Once I find this clip, Kevin, it's over. Forget
Go
about
ahead.
the chat. You said it 3 weeks ago on the show. You had a
Yes, you
show
did.
clip.
It's Kevin.
Because
I
Ryan
have
spoke it
said
into
the
existence.
same
Ryan said it
thing
would
every
happen.
weekend. I've said the
That's right,
same thing every Tuesday night. Catch me right
Oh.
here,
Oh my God.
7:45-ish.
Kevin,
That
I don't think
personally-
I've ever heard you say the same thing 2 weeks in a row. I
That's
barely
right.
hear
I
you
have.
say the same thing 2 days in a row.
Just because it's not the way that you guys want it worded doesn't mean that's not what I say every week.
It's not worded.
Now we don't understand the English language.
I'm about to do
Just
like
because
a
I don't
spitting session
personally-
right now. It's the written word, Kevin. It's in chats. It's documented. It's not. This isn't us making this up. This isn't us twisting your word. Your words are in chats, Kevin. I will
Right,
find
I
them.
understand.
I will find them.
I've never said that I don't like Cam as a quarterback in general or as a talent.
You call Lamar Jackson a running back. You call Lamar Jackson a running back.
Correct. I never said he wasn't a talented one.
Oh
I've never
my
said
God.
that.
You just
I'll tell
said
you
you
what,
respect
boys.
mobile quarterbacks, but yet you just said Lamar Jackson is a running back. And he's a talented one. Which is it?
This
I'll
is
tell you what, boys.
blasphemous. This is
I'll-
blasphemous.
I'll tell you
Go
what,
ahead,
boys. There's a lot that you could say about me. But one thing that I am the total opposite of Kevin is if I pitch my cart to a horse, I ride that horse all the way. Ryan Fitzmagic, the Miami Dolphins, whatever crazy thing comes out of my mouth, I don't flip-flop like this guy up here.
I haven't
I stick
flip-flopped.
to it.
I don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
you are a walking
I have
trifecta. That's a flip flop in Spanish.
Look, There's a style of player that I might like, and it may not be Cam, but it doesn't mean I don't believe that he's not a good player in his own right and can't lead this team to another AFC East championship. It's not my choice on who I would want to get. Yes, that's what I've said all along. But I believe it's a good addition, not only for the price that they got him at.
Than the Antonio Brown one, guys.
Oh, this is worse than Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown, it was, I don't want him. I don't want it. I don't want this and that. And then 2 days later, he's like, oh, great signing. Great signing. Great signing.
Yeah. Yep. And then when AB got cut, he was like, "It was the right move. It was."
I wasn't sure if I was on board with it to begin with anyway. All documented, Kevin, in the written word, not in voice clips, not on the show. It's in written word here, Kevin.
I don't know what's worse though. The fact that you're flip-flopping on the Cam, but then you did mention Mahomes in the $450 million contract, and you said, how silly is that to find someone that can reproduce? And we're talking about Cam. Listen, Cam is a bad man. He can't do the things that Mahomes can, nor they find anybody else.
That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. You just paid somebody $450 million to what? Win you a Super Bowl.
Super Bowls.
I believe. Okay. Super Bowls. All right, he's got to catch Brady.
He's already got one. So
you pay somebody a prove-it contract on what's over the year with incentives. I believe it was, I forget the exact number, but it's a vet minimum that you're paying him to go out and do the same thing, which is win a Super Bowl. And he has that MVP caliber talent pre-injury that he can put out on the field. For those reasons, I like the signing because not only it's instant depth if he can't start away.
Don't backtrack now. You love the signing.
Okay,
Let's
I love the
continue to
signing.
use the proper word.
I love the signing.
You're already reeling it back. No.
So I love the signing. Go ahead. I love the signing.
You keep that out there, buddy.
Brodo.
Go ahead.
Show
Release the Kraken, Brodo.
Release it.
So I found the timestamp. Let's see exactly, because maybe I could be wrong. Maybe my memory's a little jaded. It has been a long 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. So when and Kevin, I'm glad you're no longer running from me because I told you this was in your future.
Yes.
Let's see what your initial reaction was. Let me know if you guys can hear this. If not, I'll put it in a different form.
Can I just ask you this? Because listen, I don't know what the hell they have to lose. Why don't they just sign Cam? I'm gonna sound like a Cam Newton fanboy tonight, and that's fine. Why don't they just sign Cam Newton for a 1-year deal? If he sucks, then okay, then they're going to be in a good position to draft somebody. And if good, great. What's wrong? Like, why? Why are they not doing that?
I think that there's 3 issues that come across.
Three.
They can't pay him this year. They don't want to backload it next year because then that hurts them because they do have the money to, suck it up 1 year and go out and get somebody decent versus, suffering, signing, Cam just as a Band-Aid. That's not really a Patriot thing to do just to.
Not a Patriot thing to do.
That next man up mentality. I don't think Cam is a locker room type guy. Maybe a wardrobe guy, but the Patriots, they already got their hoodies. They don't need nobody there. So I don't think he's a guy to build anybody up, in a presence like they had within Brady or, you name it on the offense. So I just don't think it's, organizationally wise, the direction that they would want to go. Not saying he doesn't have talent and he can't play still. It's just not a fit in New England.
Okay.
New England.
So what? Maybe I'm wrong on the locker room side. I said he was talented.
You called him a wardrobe guy, Kevin.
Him. In 3 weeks now, you love him.
I said I love the signing. I said I love the signing.
Nothing about anything you said there has changed in 3 weeks, Kevin.
You said it's not.
You tell me why you love that signing.
You said 3 weeks ago it wasn't the Patriot way.
You can't be that skeptical.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know what the Patriot way is.
Just 3 weeks ago.
As far as that's
one
concerned.
of the best things you ever said, Kev.
My point is, you can't be that critical and have 3 major points and 3 major qualms 3 weeks ago, and then use the words love in any fashion, even if you're just talking about the money. You can't, because last week it was talked to you. Ryan brought up specifically the point of a low-cost deal. Low-cost, high-reward deal, and you shot it down. Now that's what you love about it.
You gave 3 reasons why it's not it wouldn't be a good idea.
Tell me you didn't
the money
on that.
So I said that they wouldn't have the money to sign him. So I said that I didn't think that they would have the money to sign him, which they signed him to a vet minimum. That solved that issue. They have not come out and said that he's going to be their day one starter because he has yet to pass a physical.
Kevin.
So
You really don't
that
think
solves that issue as far as a Band-Aid goes. And then I said that he wasn't a locker room guy. Maybe I don't know that part. I can't speak to that. But outside of that, I did say that he was a talent.
But what?
And I think that the talent is going to be there regardless.
Obviously, he's a talent.
So-
That's not saying much. Everyone knows he was a former MVP. Obviously, he's a talent.
So was Joe Flacco.
You're using the obvious as a crutch.
So wait. Let me ask you a question, Kevin. Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
In 3 weeks, in 2 weeks, his tenure with the Patriots, has he become that much of a locker room leader that he has swayed you on all of a sudden now? I may not know the kind of locker room guy he is. Because 3 weeks ago, you said you did. You didn't think he was a locker room guy. You're on the hot seat.
So I
sweating and everything.
So I believe. I don't know why my forehead is shiny. I'm not sweating, but
it's hot.
So as far as being a locker room guy, I'm not sold there. I don't think that. Yeah, I still don't think he's a locker room guy. I've seen videos come out as far as last week saying that people came out and said that this is a humble move of him. Just get on a team and show that he can live up to the MVP caliber that he once was, and come back from the injury. He came out and said, screw that. I'm done with that humble stuff. Yeah, I'm going to shove that down people's throat and show that I am the best that there is and I am Superman. To me, that I'm not a fan of that. I'm a keep your head down type of guy. Very much, I'm going to answer only the questions I feel like answering at a press conference and then move on. I'm not answering anything that, could be held against me type of guy with my players. I don't like that he came out and did that, but that may be something that the Patriots overlook. Who knows?
That's a locker room issue,
they
Kevin.
do,
but Kev,
obviously that's a locker room issue. And let me ask this question, okay? Because let me tell you what I think, Kevin. I think all that is bullshit. You know why he signed with the Patriots? Let me tell you why he signed with the Patriots. Because they were the only team that were going to give him a starting job. So let's take all the fluff and bullshit that's been.
He might not even be a starter.
He
hasn't passed it
up yet. Stop it. Enough with that. Let's come on, Kevin. Let's not be Kevin right now.
He hasn't passed the physical.
Kevin,
can't play. Can't pass the physical.
Listen, let's be Kevin. You know why he might not be the starter? Because the league may not play this year. If there's a game, that motherfucker's going to be on the field. I guarantee you. They may throw him out there in a wheelchair. Better than what they got out there right now, Kevin. He's going to be on the football field 100% opening day, unless he is hurt.
Would you like to
get hurt? He ain't going to get hurt in preseason because they ain't going to have preseason.
The only reason he may not be opening day starters because one, Josh McDaniel's system may be complicated, but as soon as he gets up and running, Stidham is out of there.
I have a perfect solution. Hey, Kevin.
Yes.
Bet the beard.
No.
Bet the beard that he won't be on the field.
I'm not losing my beard again.
Bet it.
Okay, so
lose
then
lose the hair.
How?
Go bald.
These glorious curls? No, can't touch
You have nothing to worry about. You have Stidham.
All I see right now is that shiny ass forehead, Kev. That's it. They think we got you on the first 48 in this bitch.
I
have no idea why it's so shiny.
Oh, we do.
Kevin, I don't understand how, like, you saying you don't like what he said about, oh, I'm done with the humble stuff. Kevin, he was a former MVP that got cut by the team that drafted him while he's still in his prime, and no one else picked him up, and he got signed for a 1-year contract at vet minimum. You wouldn't be mad? I
would be mad. But there's a way to go about it. There's a way to go about it.
You know, there are a ton of other players out there that say stuff. Miles Sanders came out and in a training video says MVP. He said, I'm going for the MVP. Do you have a problem with that?
To me, that's the way to go. If I come out and I say there's a difference. One is confidence. One is confidence. One is cockiness.
So,
If you come out and say I'm going to be the next MVP, that's a mindset. That's a mindset that you're taught on to do. Is to shoot for
This is priceless.
to speak
This
into
is
truth what you're going for, not to
something
say tell everybody to shut up. I'm not being humble. That
oh
I'm
my God.
I'm going to do what I need to do. This isn't a humble move. This is a
Kevin. I'm not
a me
even.
move.
I'm not.
That's a
even
difference.
I'm not even the biggest Cam Newton fan. I've been critical of the guy, but if you know my stance, you know that I've always said when he's on, he's as good as any quarterback there is in the league. I've always said that. It's all just a matter of in here, and he had issues with being he's like a sore loser. He didn't die for the Super. Like there's stuff here and there, but I've never denied that his talent is an elite talent when he's on. But even I will not say, I can't even go on and criticize any of his videos when he just got cut by the team that drafted him. Well, in his prime, and
fucking guys got me sweating over here.
He got signed.
Taylor dumb as hell. Yeah.
The former MVP is making how much less than a guy like Nick Foles? Nick Foles got paid. Who else has gotten paid? A starting QB getting paid in the league is making how much more, millions more than Cam Newton is right now? And you're saying you would not be heated? Come on, Kev. Come on, Kev. For other guys,
we put that comment back, please?
But for Cam, it's cockiness. Come on.
Can we put that comment by Taylor back up?
Kevin curls hanging down over his forehead. Now that bitch got a bang.
Kevin's the dude on First 48 who asked for pop and a cig, and he'll tell on everybody.
Never seen that.
You never seen First 48?
No.
Oh,
you're fired. You're friggin' fired.
Kevin has two personalities.
So
No,
this
he
is
has one.
This is Kev's opinion right here. Setting it on fire.
I'm just curious. I don't need. I can't tell. I can't tell because I feel like sometimes he trolls us, and then sometimes he's serious. Like this might be a serious one, and I'm a little concerned for you now, Kevin. I really am.
No, he's definitely serious right now. He's definitely serious.
That is
he's definitely serious.
That's why he's sweating so much because he's serious. I'm concerned about you now too.
So answer Matt's question, Kev. We need to know. Like this is it. You can't before the season even starts. Whenever it starts, are you riding with Cam as your starting quarterback the whole season? Are you going to get a Cam Newton jersey?
I will not buy a Cam Newton jersey. That's just one thing. But as far as riding him with as my quarterback, I'll support anyone that they put out on the field.
You don't
as
have
far
a
as
choice.
being a Patriots fan.
Jesus
exactly.
I
don't have a choice.
He won't be on the field. According to you, he won't be on the field.
He hasn't passed the physical yet, so I truly don't know if he's going to be day one starter.
Though you leaning on the fact that he hasn't passed a physical, it's just part of the trade process. I mean, the signing process. It has nothing to do with his talent. So you can't if he.
I never said it has. Have I yet said that Cam Newton is not a all-star talent? No, I haven't. I said he's not my style of quarterback. I said he is talented.
You said what has he done for me lately? You said that tonight. We don't even got time stamp that shit.
Right.
Go back, David Caruso. You said that
as far as being an MVP. I'm not saying that there's no talent there, but you can't say that you got to pay him MVP money because he was an MVP 5 years ago.
He didn't get MVP
That's how the
money.
league works. That's not me doing that. That's how the league works. You're not going to pay somebody MVP money that has A, had an injury and didn't play, and B, won an MVP 5 years ago. Not saying that he's not talented, and there's other things that go into consideration, like changing a coach, mental, and having your heart in the game, stuff like that goes into it. But do I think he can be back to that? Yes. Do I think he can earn an extension? Sure, but I gotta see him play first.
Okay. Pronger's best friend says Kevin's gonna say, "Hell no, I didn't see the shooter." But he owes $58, and I'm gonna go to his job and make sure I get it tomorrow at 12.
Can follow me?
Can I ask a question? It's a two-parter. It's a two-part question, Kevin. Number one, would you say that you are how would you say, collector of jerseys?
I am actually.
Okay, you are. I knew the answer to that question. I was just double checking for the audience, just to provide context. The second part of that question, okay. So if you believe that there's a reasonable chance he's going to be on the field, okay, if he passes the physical, let's just go into make-believe land in your head and say he passes the physical. 2, let's say there is a season. 3, if you're already talking about the opportunity or the likelihood or even the chance of an extension, why not getting a jersey?
Because
why not?
If they go out,
was that shit like
so so what I do,
and you
so
love the signing, Kevin,
to add more color to what the
you
to
got
my
plenty
collection
of color already, buddy.
Yeah.
And thank you. I, unlike Brodo over there, can hold a tan. But back to my jerseys.
Listen,
back to my jerseys.
If it's between being pale and a tomato, I'll be pale. All right.
It's a fair point he made, though, Ryan. Give him one.
Let's really, Kev. You really want Dan Vitale to be the starting quarterback?
Yes.
for the Patriots. That's what you want. Look, this is the most sips of any liquid fluid I've seen you take in all the shows we've been doing together since the pandemic. You never been this thirsty.
Hold on.
They never been this dry.
So to answer the question more appropriately,
Kevin's white.
Hold on. My jersey collection is not just normal stuff. As you see, a Salute the Troops jersey. I don't know if you fellas know what this is. This is a Brett Favre Falcons jersey.
Why?
What?
Why? Because no one else has it.
Wait. Can we?
Brett Favre Jets jersey.
Why?
It's not.
What's that?
Exactly.
The Falcons one's
I
cool.
don't
I'm
think
cool with that. I got no
the
problem.
Jets want a Favre jersey. Jets fans want a Favre jersey.
What's wrong with the Falcons one though?
Huh?
What's wrong with him having the Falcons one?
He's just not known for being on the Falcons. That's why it's
but I have an Edger and James Cardinals jersey. I don't think it's a big deal. It's a cool jersey.
I know one team that's probably kicking themselves, and Don had brought this up a while ago. He said, if you're the Colts, would you rather have had Cam than Rivers?
Cam.
Cam.
Easily Cam.
Cam already fit into their system. The way that Brissett ran that offense, that lends right to Cam more so than Brady to Cam.
And I think Rivers would probably been a better fit in New England than Cam.
The only argument to be made for Rivers is the health concerns for Cam. That's it. But if you're going just purely by the potential and the money he got, oh my God, easily Cam.
Easily.
Kev, man, Kev, you are a jewel, man. You are.
Thank you.
I
appreciate
it. Lift any day.
I love that he's here.
Like I said, as far as if I was to build a team, he would not be my go-to guy. But as far as a talent on the field, I believe and hope that he can get back to the MVP season that you people keep alluding to, he puts out there.
People
that want to,
I don't recall
call me a
saying
flip
he was
flop.
going to get back to the MVP season. No.
You don't think he will?
No, not at this age. I think he's going to be better.
Is he 32 now?
Yeah, but he's got a lot of tread on them tires, man. He's been beat up a lot. I think he'll be good. I mean, you're talking about a guy getting back to an MVP caliber. I don't think he's going to get there.
Yeah.
Do I think he could be very good? Do I think he could find a way to reinvent himself and be, still use his legs, but be a little more of like a better passer and a pocket quarterback? Sure. I mean, Donovan stopped running as he got older and stayed more in the pocket. I mean, he kept plays alive with his legs, but he wasn't running like he used to. And same thing with Cam. I think he can improve himself. Do I think he's going to be an MVP guy? No. There's way too many young guns in this league now who have passed him by.
Yeah.
And that's not a slight on him. I mean, I think even if he was still healthy for a lot of this time, when you look at the likes of a Carson Wentz and a Pat Mahomes, hell, I'll even throw in a Dak Prescott Not that I think he's an MVP quarterback, but do I think he's a better quarterback than Cam is at this point? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there's just way too many young guns in this league. Who knows what Joe Burrow is going to be like at this point? That kid could be a prodigy.
Kyler Murray.
He could be a bust. He could be a prodigy, but we don't know, Kev. You know, we got Mitchie Trubisky out there. We got the young goat behind the old goat right now, and Tua behind Fitzmagic. We got a lot of quarterbacks out there, bro.
I think the biggest thing that bodes well for Cam.
Hey, all I'm saying is Fitzmagic brought down the Patriots dynasty. I'm just saying. He chased Tommy Boy. He showed Tommy Boy how good life is down in Florida, and Tommy Boy ran.
I don't think so. But I think the thing that bodes. I think that the thing that bodes, well for Cam is, actually being in the Patriot system, which is no system, right? It's, we talk about it every week. It's you play to the pieces that you have, strengths versus having a set in stone way how to do things, like we've seen other teams do, and make the players mold to the way they want it done, not vice versa. And if you look at quarterbacks that have played under the Patriots outside of Brady, you have Brissett, Garoppolo, Castle, guys that were a lot more mobile than what Brady is. And then you have the coaches in place that got Brady to be not necessarily taking anything away from his own work ethic off the field, but the same coaches that were working with Brady and his footwork within the pocket are going to be there in place for Cam. So I think if there was any place where he could succeed, it will be with the Patriots. And I think it's for the money, it makes sense for the Patriots regardless, because if Stidham shows off, you didn't really waste any money having Cam as a backup, and vice versa. If Cam goes off and you can't sign him next year, or you want to sign him, you have a low base to start with. So I think it's a win-win, regardless of my personal feelings on the way the quarterback position should be played.
I think too, just what we were talking about with Cam real quick, you said, what's he, 32, 33 years old?
31.
All right, 31. So is he going to be 31 when the season starts?
I'll double check.
Okay. Regardless, I think too, with the wear and tear on him and with his style of play, look at how good Michael Vick was with only really that one really major injury, right?
He just turned 31.
Okay. So with that style of play, man, when you hit that cliff, you fall off a cliff real fast. And that's what happened with Vick, right? So I look at Michael Vick, who I think in terms of I would consider Vick not only a great player with his legs, but he was a great quarterback. And I see him, he was an innovator, and see how the cliff fell off on him with how he used his legs. Cam has way more wear and tear. I don't think Cam has it. And Vic retired at 37, I think. He hung around a few years longer than he should have. Mm-hmm. I just don't think Cam has that much left in the tank on top of the young guns. I think that you could get 2 or 3 really good years out of Cam. I think your team could be good enough to compete. I don't know about being a favorite anymore, but to compete for the AFC title, or win a playoff round or two. You may not be the favorite in your own division within the next year or so. So I think you'll get more out of him than you will Stidham. That's for sure.
I think the Patriots, to me, they'll compete for the division. With Stidham, it was a big question mark. We said that before, but with Cam, I definitely think with that defense that they have, and Belichick and company tailoring the system to him, he just got to stay healthy. And I think the Patriots will be. I personally would put them slight favorites above the Bills.
Dolphins.
Or you have Dolphins up in the division, but I think they're going to be regardless. They're going to be competitive now. So I do think it's a big move for the Patriots, and it's going to be interesting to see where they go. If I were
not Bills, Dolphins,
really early projection or prediction, I'm sorry, for next year, if he gets another contract or extension with the Pats, I think he does. I think he plays well. They extend him for a few more years, and he's their quarterback for a couple more years. But a lot can happen until then. But that's my really early prediction.
Kevin, I'll reiterate what I said 3 weeks ago. and the reason why I thought it was a good idea and why I thought it was going to happen. What the hell do you guys have to lose? Unless you truly, and I know you were kind of a Stidham guy. You might have been the biggest Stidham guy I know. Actually, you were the biggest Stidham guy I know. That's not
Still
the
is.
Damn. Stidham was
yeah. That to me, and I think a lot of people, we would say, okay, with Stidham, you guys have a very small chance to compete for the division. With Cam, you have, there's a lot of question marks, but you look at the upside, and there's no debate that the upside is way higher for Cam.
And Ryan, to add to that, worst case scenario, if he's not on the field, Kevin still has the scenario he wanted going into the season.
And if they suck, then you can do what we've all thought they were trying to do for the last handful of months.
Sarah Lawrence.
You're going to be in position to trade up for a quarterback since you've been stashing away picks for the last 2 off seasons. If you finish 6 and 10, 7 and 9, you're going to be around the top 10 pick.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that regardless if it was Stidham or Cam, I think that they were going to compete. I think that outside of the Bills, the Jets and the Dolphins, there's no competition there. I think the Bills would have been, the favorites regardless.
He says no
comment
right now because of the question.
You watch your fucking mouth over there, okay? Watch your mouth. Don't forget about who took your dynasty down last year, okay? Watch your mouth. They did it with a skeleton squad.
Now.
They did it with a skeleton squad. They made a lot more additions this year. Don't sleep on them. I ain't saying they're winning division, but let's not sleep on them.
So I think that with Stidham, it's a question mark.
They have their quarterback of the future, Kevin.
Who?
Miami.
That's Magic. Or Tua that can't also face.
Kevin,
who also can't pass a physical.
Kevin, I'll put this to the test, all right? And this is only a Kevin question. Rank the quarterbacks in your division right now, 1 to 4.
Ooh.
Ah.
This will tell us the truth right now.
Well, he's thinking because he's thinking. He's already thinking about it. Do I give it to Cam? What do I do?
Who's my 4 that? So who's my 4 that I'm ranking? Am I just naming starters or am I naming quarterbacks on the teams?
Out of all the quarterbacks in that division, name the top 4.
Are you giving me project?
Magically, you're freezing up now. Magically, you're freezing up.
I feel like it's convenient that all of a sudden we're losing connect.
Yeah.
I would go Allen.
What?
I would go Allen number 1. Josh Allen number 1. Cam Newton number 2.
Josh Allen. He puts Josh Allen as a better quarterback than Cam Newton. Josh Allen who can't
Stidham 3.
Oh my.
What?
That's Magic 4.
What?
Yep.
Wait, who 3?
Stidham.
Who? Sam Darnold retire?
I don't like him. I think he's a fraud.
Well, I got that vibe. You don't have to tell me. I got that vibe. You don't like him. But how many games has Stidham played?
0.
0. And he has him better. He has him better.
Yes, I do.
He has him better than. Oh God!
Wait. So are you going to be like a freaking was it Chris Sims that you're going to say Stidham's more talented than Tua? Because I'm pretty sure they both played the same amount of games in the NFL.
See, for me, the best, is he even going to be available? Is my biggest thing.
Oh my God!
When
Tua's healthy, he has the potential to be a generational quarterback if he could stay healthy. So
that wasn't the question. You said right now name the top 4 quarterbacks.
We're going talent-wise, Kevin. Talent-wise.
Yeah, talent-wise,
obviously.
Quarterback. We're doing the Chucks rule. We're not factoring in injuries. We're doing the Chucks rule.
And right now, post injury, what talent is he there? I don't know because I haven't seen him not hurt.
I don't even care what the criteria is right now, talent alone or not, injury or not. He put Stidham at 3 as the 3rd best quarterback in the.
Wait, what do you mean post-injury?
It says a lot. It says a lot.
0 games.
It says a lot to a quarterback's talent when they have not come out and named a quarterback A and waited this long to get one.
None.
Kevin.
He's played 0 games, and you have it better than. 50.
I understand that.
And Sam Darnold, You are smoking something. You are
trying to collect myself over here.
There is no way anyone can say I'm biased. I'm the most biased person on the show anymore. When you just said that, that literally came out of your mouth. You cannot speak about Drew Brees or any quarterback play when you said Stidham is the third best quarterback in the division. You cannot talk at all about anything quarterback ever again. When you said just now Stidham is the third best quarterback in the East, that is atrocious. You should be ashamed of yourself. Are you serious right now? Are you serious?
1,000% serious.
Talking to his kid.
Don't even talk about quarterbacks ever again. You cannot get
Chuck,
ever again.
Chuck. Take a sip. Let him defend. Let him defend. Go.
It's to me, it says a lot about a quarterback when you wait this long to sign anybody, regardless of who's out there. You didn't draft anybody. You didn't try to trade for anybody when you could have if you knew you didn't have the money, and you only bring in a quarterback regardless of who it is because it's on a minimum deal and if it's just under your budget to do so. You don't trade to make room for anybody. Which you could have done. And then on top of it, you don't name anybody a starter. You say, we'll see what happens, and it will be a nice addition to the stable. Very open-ended.
Let me tell you something, Kevin. I don't care what they pay him. If you believe that a guy is your franchise quarterback, you ain't bringing nobody else in to compete for his job.
Thank you.
That's his job.
Thank you.
Carson Wentz.
Kevin.
Carson Wentz only had to compete for his job because there was an established quarterback in place. But it was well known that Carson Wentz was taking that job at first shot. And what happened? He never relinquished that job. I don't want to hear it says a lot to me when they don't do this and then they went out. You don't bring in a guy at Cam's caliber. Because Cam don't play second. Cam don't play second string. Cam's a starter. No, Cam don't. It ain't gonna be because of talent. It ain't gonna be because of talent. You don't bring a guy in Cam's talent, injury or not, unless you plan to start him if he's healthy. So if you're gonna start this man because he's healthy, Kevin, that means you don't believe that Stidham's the guy. Because $1 million to bring in Cam don't mean shit if you believe in that guy. I'm telling you that right now. If Cam was taking second string positions or second string jobs, he would have had a job a long time ago, bro.
Kevin, they brought in Brian Hoyer, and then 2 weeks later, friggin' former players of yours were saying Brian Hoyer could start over him.
I never heard anything like
Rob
that.
Ninkovich, have you heard of him?
I have.
He breaks stories all the time for your team. He said 2 weeks after they signed Hoyer, hey, he has the inside track to start week 1. If Brian Hoyer is in the discussion, what's wrong with Cam?
All the stories that I've heard have come out and saying that the Patriots absolutely love Stidham, that they believe he is a franchise quarterback within this league, and that he was their guy going
forward.
One there.
Kevin, if that's the stories that you're hearing, then I would love to look at your Google search because I'm sure it says Stidham love. And every fucking great topic that comes up, every great article written about him is the only things that come up because there's no way that you can avoid seeing all this other stuff that all of us see, and you're just seeing all the love.
Kevin,
you must be looking at all positivity. Let's look up Stidham, starter, Stidham, positivity, rainbows and butterflies, whatever it is. That's the only way that you can find all that shit. Because we're all seeing all the other talk.
Kevin, I'm literally looking at the story. May 24th, former Patriot Super Bowl believes Brian Hoyer will start week 1 over Jarrett Stidham. I'm literally looking at it. It's an inch from my face. It's right here.
I'll say this for you, Kev.
And
I hope that
scouts at the combine also believe Brady was too small to play quarterback. So
here we go.
We're a far cry from that. We're a far cry from that.
I hope that this kid ends up being everything that you want him to be. Because you will never live it down if he isn't. And I don't want to see that kind of harassment for you, Kevin, for the rest of your life. I want to see you stand on the mountain like I did when I proclaimed that the Dolphins would take down the Patriots dynasty last season. And now who's standing tall? I want you to feel that, Kevin. I
And
hope
I
that
will,
happens
don't
for you,
worry.
buddy.
I don't know, Kev, man.
I don't even know where to go from here. Like,
Well, I do. I do. Finish your list, Kevin.
Number 3.
he
Stidham is the
That was I did finish my list.
quarterback in the division.
No,
Who's the fourth?
Kevin. No.
Huh?
Fitzpatrick.
Because
Yeah,
you,
Fitzpatrick,
with Tua, you're
then
saying
Allen.
post to with Tua, Kevin. Correct. Just so I'm hearing this, you're talking about post injury Tua.
I did not name Tua within my list.
Why?
Why?
Yes.
If I was gonna name him, I would put him behind Fats Magic at this point until I see you play on the field 100% healthy and I know what I'm actually gonna get out of you.
What are you talking about? He's
You know
healthy.
what? Yeah,
He hasn't passed
I don't-
any physicals yet.
Stop it.
Are you kidding me? He wouldn't have been drafted. What are you talking about?
What did he
Don't-
just say?
Kevin, don't ever bring up the
I haven't seen
conversation.
him pass.
Don't ever bring up the point of until I see what they can do on the field. You made a guy number 3 who's never stepped foot on the fucking field. So
Kevin,
please save
you
the point.
just-
Doesn't matter if
you
it's because of
just
injuries or
contradicted
because he's not
You
talented enough. It's the
absolutely-
same reason he hasn't stepped on the field. So you can't make that point about one guy
He
and
has-
not about another.
You-
Because it's a
No, he has
hypocritical
been on the
statement
field
to make.
actually.
It's a hypocrisy. I can't even talk. Fucking, I can't.
I
We
meant-
need to move on. We need to move
I
on.
meant within.
I
I
can't
meant
anymore
within.
with this.
I meant within the system, on the professional level within the team he's in. Stidham has been on the field. There is some tape on him as far as what he has done within the Patriots. Both
Yeah,
preseason and then coming in late in games for Brady. So
He threw a touchdown
that
pass
was
to Paul
what I
Adams.
meant.
That's this. You just said preseason and in garbage time.
Oh
That's
my-
exactly what he said.
Kevin. Let me ask one
really-
final question, okay? Because I
Go
got it.
ahead.
Who would you rather have, Kevin? Trevor Lawrence or Stidham?
Well, Trevor Lawrence.
But he hasn't played yet, Kevin.
He
hasn't
hasn't played,
on
Kevin.
the field, Kevin.
What are you talking about? He hasn't played. He hasn't been on the field, Kevin.
You got to see him in the system, Kevin.
That is very true. I would have to see how he plays, but I believe Trevor Lawrence is going to be a generational type talent regardless.
So you might as well put him in this list. Then you might as well put him in your quarterback list
Not
because he's in
see-
your future.
I'd have him one. I believe
You have him
I believe
one.
Trevor Lawrence without having seen him on a professional team, he's the closest thing to a professional ready quarterback that I've seen in a long time, and I believe that he will outplay anybody currently in the league.
My issue
Oh.
is that you
Oh.
are changing the conversation with every point. If you're gonna have criteria to make your arguments, it has to stay consistent. Whether it's I'm factoring in injuries or I'm not, whether it's I'm factoring in that a guy has stepped on the NFL field as a starter or not. You can't make the point for one guy and then use it against another guy. It's hypocritical, and it makes every other thing that you're saying sound ridiculous. And that's my point.
So
It's like how to sit there and to tell me that Stidham is better than Tua is ridiculous. To say that he's number 3, slightly behind Cam, is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. It makes no sense.
And it was also ridiculous that you thought the Dolphins would go 10-6 and
Right. But you
knock
know
the
what?
Patriots out of
You
the
know
playoffs.
what?
So
Whether I was serious or not, I rode my
stick
horse
to what I
all the
say.
way to the finish line. I didn't flip flop like other people, Kevin. I stuck to it.
I'm not
and I
flip-flopping.
always maintained my points. I never wavered from any point that I made or any validation that I made for anything. And if I was wrong, I admitted I was wrong. If I was right, I admit I'm right. And these boys sat with me last week. Whether they agree with me or they disagree with me, my criteria never changed. I don't
It's hard to
hold
say.
one thing
It's hard
against
to
one guy and not hold it against another guy. That's
right,
ridiculous.
but it's hard to in that situation. It's hard to not change it when a guy had had hip surgery, had wrist surgery, had a blown out knee, 3 injuries all within the same time frame, all to his own doing. When a coach wants to take you out of the play and in a situation where you don't need to be there versus somebody with no injury history. So that's where I'm looking at is, are you even that same guy that we had once seen post-injury and post-surgery versus a guy that has none of those things attached to his name and is already proven to be out of the league of the other.
So you
with
tell me what
Taylor.
separates Stidham coming out of college, Stidham, whatever the fuck his name is. Tell me what separated him coming out of college that I should believe that healthy, he's an elite quarterback. He could possibly be the best quarterback in the division. I want you to tell me what the rant and rave about him is, because at least with Tua, there are a lot of people that believe that if Tua is healthy, he is a generational quarterback. So where was that talk about Stidham? Tell me what separates him, what makes him a difference maker, Kevin. Tell me, other than what you read about a couple of the positive notes when there was no other quarterback on the football team, Kevin. Tell me.
So
Waiting.
I can't tell you because the same thing.
Because no one said anything.
Because the things that are said out of college, I don't believe in anyway. I don't read them. I can't tell you anything about Stidham out of college.
You're talking about Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
I can't.
There's certain,
You said Trevor
so there-
Lawrence.
there's
You don't
certain guys.
believe anybody in the league, but you don't believe in college? What are you talking about? What are you
I don't
talking
believe in
about?
certain reports. I've been very open in saying that I don't watch much college. I
Jeremy,
didn't watch Stidham through college. I have watched.
You just talk about the Patriots report and that Stidham should be their starter, and you don't believe in certain reports.
I said I don't believe in certain college reports. You got a guy that is arguably the greatest of all time, drafted at 199th overall, and then you want to compare him to
You make every
other
argument
reports
about
off the field.
one exception. You never.
There's
look
many.
at the
There's
majority-
many. Kurt Warner.
But you're
was
making
bagging
doing what
groceries, Hall of
everybody
Famer.
else does,
There's
Kevin.
many.
You're making the exact. You're falling into the trap that everyone else does. Okay,
If,
there are
if you want, I can bring up more
There's always
examples.
going to be
There's many.
exceptions to the trend, Kevin. But it's like the one thing. It's like the people when people talk about like, oh man, you can have a great day, but you focus on the one negative, and that one
Right.
negative affects you. It's the same thing here. Your opinion. There could be so much positivity and truth to all these rankings and expectations behind these quarterbacks, but you're focusing on the one time they got it wrong, and you're saying, like the one most epic time that they got it wrong. You're focusing on that, and you're like, well, listen,
Exactly.
I'm gonna my guy, I'm gonna base him because hey, they did it to Tom. Forget the fucking thousands of other times, Kevin, that didn't happen. That people got it exactly right. When people pegged guys as mediocre. Like I make jokes about Trubisky on here, but everybody knew he was going to be a mediocre quarterback, and a team jumped up. Were you arguing then that hey, I mean Tom surprised some people because I don't ever recall you saying anything about Mr. Trubisky saying hey, this guy could surprise some people. I did to bust everybody's balls, but you
there's plenty of there's plenty of time. There's plenty of examples I can give you. You know, Big Ben going over Aaron Rodgers. There's plenty of examples out there that you can talk about.
Kevin, he won 2 Super Bowls. He won more than Aaron Rodgers. So he served
but on the
purpose.
Right. But on the show, it's not all about Super Bowl one for a fact because your boy Dan Marino didn't win any.
The sport is to win a Super Bowl.
So you're saying Dan Marino's not a top 10 quarterback of all time?
No, I'm not saying that at all. Don't put words in my mouth. But when you're going to sit there,
but he doesn't have a Super Bowl though. He doesn't have a Super Bowl though. Nor does Jim Kelly.
Dan Marino's not in the conversation of the greatest of all time because he didn't win a Super Bowl. But Dan is a great quarterback, and it's not something that the Dolphins just say, well, this guy was drafted or this guy was drafted, and they won Super Bowl, so you should feel bad about that. The bottom line is you can't say that Ben was like a bust or anything.
I didn't say he was.
But the argument that we're making here, Kevin, is you're saying, well, I could use the example that Ben went over Aaron Rodgers. Well, clearly the Steelers knew what they needed, and he won 2 Super Bowls, and he's still there.
Right.
So that's like you can't compare
last time I
Super Bowl
checked,
quarterbacks.
The last time I checked,
well, he went before him, so that wasn't right. There's other teams you could have said, hey, there's a lot. Miami passed on Aaron Rodgers. It took Ronnie Brown. Like, I could give you other examples. If you would have went that route, I'll tell you what, Kevin, I would have been like, hey, that's a great example. But you went the Ben Roethlisberger route. Come on, Kevin.
Right, because first off, the last time I checked, football wasn't just a one-person sport, and the entire team wins a Super Bowl. So you might want to check that first. And then second off, if you were on the show 2 weeks ago when we were ranking quarterbacks, we had only one person had Big Ben within the even close to the top 5 within the top 10, and all 3 of us had Aaron Rodgers as far as being in the top 3 or 4 as far as best in the past 20 years. So it isn't a valid example of where people overblow.
It's not a valid example at all. It's not a valid
exactly.
example at all.
It is. Yes, it is.
If you would have thrown in Ronnie, if you would have said the Dolphins went and took Ronnie Brown because they needed a quarterback and they missed on it, you're absolutely right. Because we're not talking about quarterbacks being taken over quarterbacks. We're talking about guys being evaluated the wrong way. And that's the point. That's what you're missing, is that majority of the time, these teams have evaluations on these quarterbacks, and more often than not, it hits. A lot of people missed on Tom Brady, Kevin. Everybody knows that in the world. But it's not the be-all, end-all measuring stick. It's not going to be the difference maker in a stidham that we're going to say, hey, because they got it wrong on Tom Brady. Because 99% of the time, bro, they're pretty close or on point. That's the point.
Yeah, it's like Kev. I mean, focus on one thing. You just said you don't listen to the college reports because you kind of all over the place, but yet you put Trevor Lawrence as number 1.
You said you believe Trevor Lawrence could outplay any quarterback currently in the NFL, but yet you do not listen to college news.
Correct.
Okay.
By watching game film and watching certain games, I believe that at some point, not saying today, but at some point, Trevor Lawrence will be the number 1 quarterback within the league. That is my gut feeling on what I've seen. Now, am I at fault? Yes, I don't watch many teams in college. I don't watch many players coming out of college. He happens to be one that I have watched and seen. And I believe that he is going to be the next big generational talent. Now, with that being said, would I want him on the Patriots? Yes, he's a much better fit in the mold that I want. Do I think we're going to, do poorly enough to get him? No. So,
Kevin,
that point's neither here nor there.
Kevin, I just want to inform you of something that I didn't know about until about 3 seconds ago. You have officially made me hate Trevor Lawrence. Okay. I will now purposefully, outgoingly root against him for the rest of his career. You have ruined his career for me. He is now my enemy.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I don't know, Kev. I mean, man, I get it. We pinned you into a corner, but you just kept digging, bro.
That's the thing. Like, I'm really not trying to I'm not trying to back you into a corner, but it's just so egregious that I can't help it. And I'm not normally like that, but I can't help it, Kevin. It's been so egregious.
I thought the Cam Newton thing would be the most egregious thing, like we heard, but Stidham, when you said number 3 in the division. I can't, with 0 games played. Dude, you gotta be kidding me.
I'm so
gotta be kidding me.
I'm so up right now from all this. My shins are sweating. I'm so adrenaline ridden and fired up right now from this. Oh, that was something else.
When there's players like a Tua, or you have enough picks to go up and get a Love, a Hurst, a Fromm in the draft, when you can go and get somebody, whether he's a perfect day 1 starter or not, whether it's somebody that you have to coach up a little bit or make dumb down the playbook a little bit, having arguably the greatest coach of all time within Belichick, and a very shifty offense, which the Patriots have and have molded within the quarterbacks that they've brought in, to not go out and get somebody tells me that they believe a lot in him. Then to wait all the way down until they decide that, hey, we're most likely going to be playing out the season. Sports are starting to come back to sign a Cam. Tells me that they believe a lot in what they have in Stidham, and within his offseason work and what they've seen him do throughout the past year within the Patriots, practice-wise. Tells me a lot.
We've heard other quarterbacks' names before this, though, throughout the offseason. I think one issue for some of the quarterbacks is I don't think a lot of people probably didn't want to be the one to try to fill Tom Brady's shoes. That's number one. And number two, I just don't think the talent pool was that deep this year. I don't think it's a. I don't think
he's throwing out Jordan Love and Jake Fromm.
I don't think it's a reward.
Really, they're not those type of quarterbacks.
It's not a recognition to Stidham. It's a recognition that the free agent talent pool this offseason was not very good. And that's just the bottom line.
And the ones that go ahead, Crum. No, go ahead. I was just going to say that the ones that were good were taken extremely early. We were all sitting there because it was one of the first days of quarantine, so we were all just sitting back. How many times did we see Mariota gone, Tannehill gone, Brady gone? They were all committed to teams days before the deadline was even officially here, before you guys could officially sign.
Right, which lends – and that goes directly to my point, Ryan.
It doesn't.
That you knew that you weren't going to have Brady well before the deadline came. You knew that he was going out elsewhere, and you still let these other quarterbacks get signed out from underneath of you.
No, I think these other quarterbacks signed
then you let the draft
because
go.
Those situations made more sense for them, and they got paid money when the Patriots don't want to fucking pay anybody.
And Kevin,
I think that's what it is.
Kevin, that's wrong, though. They didn't know. We know this. We know this for a fact. Tom Brady had a last-minute conversation and meeting with Robert Kraft. That's not true. It went into the very last second because because he was either going to one of three teams, Kevin, and I know this for a fact. It was either Tampa Bay, it was Los Angeles Chargers, or it was going to be the Saints if Drew Brees didn't come back. So no,
right. As a free agency opening and ongoing, it's not like there was nobody left after he had signed. There's still guys out there. You could have jumped beforehand. You could have seen the writing on the wall and had conversations and had something lined up to say, "Hey, Tom may not be here. Hold on a minute, wait around. We might put you in here."
But see,
could have, should have, but didn't.
But Chrome, it's not even a woulda, coulda,
could have,
because they didn't plan for Tom Brady to be gone. Because if Robert Kraft is still having the conversations, and two, no, Kevin, there wasn't anybody left. Because if we want to be technical, the guys like Mariota and Tannehill, they were signed before Brady was. Brady was honestly, go back to it. Brady was one of the last big names to sign. It was not official.
Right. And like I just said, if you have a gut feeling, Kraft came out almost 2 weeks before Brady actually signed and said, "Hey, we want him back. We will pay him what he wants, but it's Tom's decision. Whether he comes back or not, we still love him. He's a Patriot for life." That was his exact press release when this was all going on. Hey, if he comes back, great. If he doesn't, he's got to do what's best for him. We've already had our conversations within the season because they knew this was coming up.
Right.
If that's going to happen, why don't you on the other side say, "Hey, listen, because Mariota, listen, Bridgewater, whoever it may be," and say, Tom probably not coming back. What can we do here to work something out to where as soon as that falls, we put pen to paper and we get a deal done.
There's a 10% chance that Tom Brady's going to come back. They were not going to do anything to compromise or disrespect that. And on the flip side, to ask those guys to wait on Tom Brady is an insult. So there you go.
And Ted FX, he says nobody ever said the Saints. Where'd you hear? Trust me, Ted FX.
Yeah, the Saints were thrown out there.
He was going to the Saints if Drew Brees was not back there. Okay.
I don't know for sure that he was going there, but I know that
I know for a fact
they would have been just as equally considered as the other two teams that were involved.
If Drew Brees was gone, they were the favorites. I'm just telling you this. People can choose not to believe me. People could choose to believe me. I wouldn't be saying that if I didn't know it's 100% true. If Drew Brees, and if you recall, Kevin, that was still up on the air because he was like, oh, maybe I'm going to come back, maybe not, maybe I'm going to stay. If he was gone, they were the favorites. They just were.
You have to realize, Kevin, that the Patriots, Tom Brady held the Patriots at ransom because there's no way they would have moved on without him saying it's time to move on. So again, even if it's only a 10% chance, they're not going to do anything behind his back that could get leaked to the media and compromise that chance. And I'm not saying it's their fault. I think they did what they had to do. But on the flip side, there's other opportunities for these guys. Nobody's waiting on Tom Brady to make a decision. If Tennessee is going to commit to Ryan Tannehill is going to take the job that he knows is going to fit him. And any of these guys that are out there. And that's just the bottom line. Like, I know that you view the Patriots as this wonderful thing, and they are. They had a great dynasty, but they're never going to be the same without Tom Brady. And I'm not saying they can't win a Super Bowl, but it's never going to be the same. And these guys now recognize that there's opportunities in this league now for other teams to knock on that door and win more long term. And that's just the way it is. So people aren't saying, oh, my God, it's the Patriots. I will worship the ground they walk on until they make a decision with Tom Brady. It ain't happening. And it proved it this year because all the quarterbacks came off the board. The decent starting quarterbacks came off the board almost immediately. They're not some organization that's going to hold the league ransom, man. And it proved it this year.
Yeah.
When if that's the same sense, then why do we have former MVPs with such great talent signing for vet minimums?
Because there was nowhere else for him to go, and they offered him a starting job.
Because
he's not taking a backup job. He could have got a backup job elsewhere.
Kevin, where else was he going to sign?
It's the only team that needs a quarterback.
No, seriously, like Kevin, I honestly, where else was he going to sign?
That he could win a starting job.
Or no, just anywhere. Where was he going to sign?
He could have gone to many teams and won a starting job because I think that's exactly what he has to do here is win a starting job. We already named one. Go to the Colts. Go phase out aging Phillip Rivers.
He's their guy. But they just signed Phillip Rivers. They're not
like 2 years, 30 million or something like that.
Yeah, it's like 20. It was like 25, 26.
Am I wrong? Didn't Phillip Rivers sign before Cam was cut?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Like that's the other thing, Kevin, that you forget. A lot of quarterbacks signed before Cam got cut.
Yeah.
So let's not make it like Cam sat out there and
now.
there were no jobs for him, buddy, because Cam was cut pretty late into the offseason after a lot of top-name free agents signed.
Yeah, because
I'm just thinking about that now. That whole argument is pointless.
They tried
trading Cam wasn't even
couldn't trade him.
Yeah, right. Cam wasn't available at that time. So, yes, of course, teams who need a starting quarterback now are going to say, hey, I can get him for less than what it would have cost me to trade for him. And the Patriots are the ones who jumped, and suckers jumped right on.
So
Juan Rivera, why would they? They have a quarterback that they fired their head coach last year because whether we believe in Haskins or not, they got rid of their quarterback last year or their head coach because he wasn't a believer. They have a guy that they committed the franchise to, at least for now. So why would they bring Cam in to take his job? Unlike if Stidham was the guy who the Patriots believed in, why would they go and bring Cam in?
Exactly.
Compete for the job, which was the question that was posed. Where else could he have gone?
There's no competition.
Where else he could have gone to compete for a job, and that's a place right there.
Where else could he? Where are these other teams? Okay, so you say Colts, but that's incorrect. What other team?
I just said Washington.
No, that's wrong. No, situationally, no.
How is that no?
They have Haskins, and then they already signed a veteran.
Yeah, right. Haskins wasn't the starter last year, and I don't believe that if they brought Cam in that he would necessarily be the starter now.
They committed the 16th overall pick to him.
They drafted him in the first round.
Yeah, the day they fired Gruden is the day that they committed to him.
Yes.
Because that was the whole issue with Gruden is the fact that he did not believe in Haskins whatsoever. And we knew that long ago. We had our inside sources long before that was a story.
Freaking May of 2018. It was like freaking early. May 2018, 2019, something crazy.
It was right after the draft we had heard about what was said from a source. who literally talked to the head coach that he
Yeah.
did not like the kid. He didn't think that he could learn the position quick enough and that he had the capabilities to adapt to it and be a starting quarterback in the league. We heard that. What did they do? They fired the head coach and kept the quarterback because they committed to him as their franchise quarterback. You can't tell me that Stidham is getting the same commitment with Cam Newton there, buddy. Sorry, ain't happening.
And they not only still have a guy that they used a top 16 overall pick on, they traded for Kyle Allen. They traded for a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So they made another move on top of it. So other than the Redskins, what other team on this long list?
Mind you, Kevin, almost every
to-
team had a quarterback before Cam was cut. So mind you that.
Bears traded for Foles.
Yep. And
And
like
that was-
Don's saying
that was-
Chargers.
that was before Cam got cut.
And I was preaching Chargers, but they drafted what, a top 7 pick with a quarterback on Herbert. So as soon as they did that, they're out of the market. So where's this other team?
That doesn't mean you can't bring in. That doesn't mean that you can't bring in Cam and have
Why would
him
you do that?
start.
Why would you do that
And
when
have
you
Herbert
said numerous times this offseason you're committed to Tyrod Taylor, you believe in Tyrod Taylor, and you use a top 7 pick on a quarterback? Why would you bring in another?
Well, why would you bring in a 16th overall pick and have him sit half the year last year?
He was a
Why would you
rookie.
go up if
He
you're
was a
Miami
rookie.
and sign a guy that might not even start?
What are you talking?
Why does Miami go and sign Tua and not even know if he's going to start and have Fitzmagic?
Because they're rookies.
He's a rookie.
Okay,
He doesn't need to start. He's a rookie.
so you're saying that if the Chargers draft a quarterback and have Tyrod Taylor, that Cam doesn't win that job?
Whoa. See, now you're putting words in my mouth. No, we're talking about situationally where he would go. Tell me what smart
He could go there.
No, hold on. No, as soon as they go and they sign Herbert and they draft Herbert, they weren't doing that. What smart organization would go out and get Tyrod Taylor, talk him up like he's their boy, then use a top 7 overall pick, then draft another, and then take another quarterback? Why are we doing that? That's sending mixed signals to your guy Tyrod Taylor and to the kid. What are you doing that for?
You're right. I forgot. The only person that makes jumps on quarterbacks is the QB factory here in Philly. No one else is allowed to, go out and get somebody.
Now you know he's really on his heels.
Yeah, he's run out of stuff
now
to
he's
say.
really he got nothing else to contribute to it.
You can't even answer the question. I mean, come on now.
All right. Listen, guys.
I think all the fight is out of Kev now.
And that's okay because we're up against it.
Players can go around and swap spots, especially if you got a guy that's on a vet minimum. Why not bring him in? No one yet has come out and said in a report that Cam is the starter 100%.
Because they haven't needed to.
Hey, Damian, Foles got traded.
It's understood.
Foles got traded. The report was on March 18th, the beginning of free agency.
Cam got cut March 25th.
Yeah. So Cam was cut afterwards.
I love you, Damian, but you're wrong.
Yep.
Well, guys, we had an array of topics to talk about today, and we did not get to even half. We had 5 topics, and we got through 2. We only got to 2 topics. I mean, if you want to, we mentioned Mahomes, so maybe that's something.
I wonder.
So maybe we'll see
where Kevin would rank Mahomes, Cam, Stidham, and Jimmy G.
Trevor Lawrence.
How he would rank those.
Well, you know what, Kevin? Think about that, and we want that list next week. And we want the explanation. We want the explanation of all of them, why they are placed where they are.
We're gonna.
Chucks is gonna DM you the names that he wants you to rank.
We're gonna have the Cam Newton quarterbacks comparisons game next week.
Mm-hmm.
We have it all planned out.
Unbelievable. Yeah, we may push the wide receivers off another week. The rate this is going.
I really want to see where Kevin ranks Stidham compared to all the quarterbacks in the league. All actually.
One.
Yeah. So obviously, guys,
jersey.
we didn't really get to the Mahomes extension. We didn't get to Denzel Mims, and we didn't get to the NFLPA. The preseason thing, we'll have plenty of time to talk about. We'll probably have more news next week anyway, so we can talk about that. I think that's probably going to end up being more of a conversation of, do we really think that the league's going to go on with now we're taking preseason games out. So we'll talk about that. The Mahomes thing, that's going to be talked about on A2D all this week. We could drop a few comments on it next week. But yeah, so next week, maybe our wide receiver conversation. Unless a lot of news drops, then we'll make sure that we cover all news topics this week. But fun conversation. A tale of two shows, guys. How serious were we in the first half? Because it was a very serious topic. And how much did this completely flip a 180 and get crazy in the second half? Like, wow. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Kev.
Oh, God.
But listen, guys, great show. Great to have all four of us back on. It was a lot of fun. And a really great informative conversation in the first half. So if you guys missed any of it, don't forget, you can go back, you can check out. All the shows are archived if you want to watch us, which honestly, the reactions of this show alone, I think this is a watch one. Check it out on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. If you don't have the time to physically watch, but you got time for podcast platforms, don't forget, guys, we're on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, whatever you call it, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify. I had to literally fly by my head when I said Spotify. You can catch us all on there. And we want to say thank you to all of our sponsors and all of our partners here at A2D Radio. Our Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy, and you can find them at specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Best doc in the business, no appointment necessary. Shout out to Michael Ambrose at Ambuck Services. Going to get your house in order, all outside work, deck installation, restoration, gutters clean, gutter guards, tree trimming, any of that stuff. Let them know that the fam at A2D sent you. AMBUCKservices.com. You get 20% off. The phone number is also dropped in the chat. Philly Drinkers, get your A2D merch right here. We love it. Tons of great shirts, great shorts, stickers, Tumblr, all kinds of good stuff on there. So check that out. PhillyDrinkers.com. And obviously play QB54. Use the promo code A2D. Will get you 10% off, I believe, on that one. It's a great tailgating game, and you can find them at playqb54.com. Did I miss anybody? I think I got us all in.
You got it.
No? So great show this week, guys. Thank you to Pete. Thank you to Kevin. Thank you to Chuck's Ryan on the back end with the 1s and 2s. We want to thank you guys for all your participation. We love you guys. Stay safe. We'll see you next week.